because another Nobel winner wants him in prison. And indeed, I suppose the irony about all of this, bearing in mind that it was two Norwegian MPs who nominated him, you can have hundreds, even thousands of people nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. It's no indication of who's going to get it. Any government official is entitled to put somebody's name forward, right? But these two Norwegian MPs said that he may have damaged the security interests of several nations in the short term, but in the long term, this is a good move. The irony of that being that another this is the head of the NSA, a nominee of Barack Obama by the name of James Clapper, just today in Senate said how much Edward Snowden had weakened security in the US and asked him, in blisteringly critical terms, asked him to return NSA documents. So there you go.
Okay, now next up is Pope Francis. I admit I like him. I can't help but like him. He's even made the cover of the Rolling Stones magazine.
It's pretty extraordinary. First time ever, perhaps not surprisingly, that a Pope has made it on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. And there he is, Rochelle. I quite like the way they have found a lyric by Bob Dylan, "The times they are a-changin'." So it is quite trendy. He's sharing that front page with Sting and Paul Simon. Not the first time that he has been on a front page. Indeed, that is when he was on Time magazine for Person of the Year last year. So it is pretty impressive. And if we go back to the Huffington Post's coverage, they are pointing out that the communications people at the Vatican are quite pleased with that, of course, and have been tweeting indeed other images where the Pope is looking particularly trendy. That is the Vatican's communications service with a sort of, what would you say, a sticker or a tattoo of the Pope in superhero form, and that is on a wall somewhere in Rome.
All right, well, next up, she ran for president of France. She wasn't successful.
No.
Current partner of the French president, François Hollande. So, Ségolène Royal, she's hoping for a political comeback, isn't she?
That's right. She is quoted by Le Canard Enchaîné, satirical weekly here in France, as having said, I always thought I had a role to play in the government, and I am ready to play that role, and otherwise I would have left politics. And the sentence that has stayed with everybody is, I am ready to play a role. Now, the thing is, a lot of people are kind of making ironic jokes about that, because this is just less than a week after Valérie Trierweiler left the Élysée Palace as the First Lady. Ségolène Royal is a former partner of François Hollande, so some people are sort of saying, oh, is she sort of making the statement now? Because indeed they were quite the rivals, these two ladies. And if you go back to shortly after the presidential election in 2012, Ségolène Royal was standing for parliamentary elections in La Rochelle. And if she had won that election, she would have become the president of the National Assembly, which is the fourth most senior job in the French Republic. It would have meant a lot of meetings with the president. And Valérie Trierweiler famously tweeted her support for Ségolène Royal's rival. So now that Valérie Trierweiler, who clearly wasn't a fan of Ségolène Royal, is sort of out of the picture, this might explain why Ségolène Royal is now publicly stating what her ambitions are. She probably would like to get a ministerial post at the very least.
It's a complicated webs being weaved there, James.
Indeed.
And finally, the Turkish Premier, Recep Erdogan, now has a holographic double, apparently.
That's right. It is a way of cutting down on tiring trips to cities far away from the capital, Istanbul. This is in Izmir, and it was last Sunday. Let's roll these pictures, because what you see is Recep Erdogan up on stage. Now, what he actually recorded this in front of a green screen. I'm not sure we have those pictures. Can we roll the pictures of him on front of a green screen and chatting away? But what appeared on front of those at the political party meeting in Izmir was a 10 feet tall hologram of Mr. Erdogan. So he added a few feet onto his official height as well, just for good measure. Well, why not? If you're able to beam yourself across the country, you may as well adapt yourself to your liking as well. And of course, it's not the first time this has happened. In India, there is a politician as well who broadcast himself using 26 holograms, not just one, but 26 forms of himself across the state of Gujarat. And I believe we have some pictures of Tupac and Elvis, who were beamed up onto stage at various points in the last couple of years as well. So perhaps he's being inspired by Celine Dion's Vegas show, bringing in some holographic imagery.
All right, James Cleedon, as ever, thank you very much for joining us in the studio there. Coming up after the break, it's more news, of course.